Okay, so we now know what content is, and we know kind of a little bit about defining our audience in terms of who we want to see it. But we also need to make sure that content gets seen. And this is what this section's about. Okay, there's 4 different ways, I think, that you can make sure you can get content seen. The first is Google. Keywords. Has anyone heard this word keywords before? Yeah, it's kind of like, you come across it every now and again, and people who know what they're talking about kind of like go, keywords, man. Yeah. It's very, very simple, and I will kind of like go through this. The other thing to remember is social media can be a really powerful way of getting things seen. But not all social media is the same, and you need to use it in different kind of ways. The third one I've already touched on is the idea of ambassadors, getting other people to share your content. And similarly, you should be kind of like supporting their content by sharing it yourself. And finally, the ever-present newsletter. Now, what I'm talking about here is an email newsletter, whereby you can take the content you've created or found, repurpose it, reuse it, and send it directly to people's email inboxes. Okay, so Google makes its money through something called Adwords. Adwords is a way that on the search engines, you see the little sponsored advertising next to it. And what they do is they provide access to their search engine, what people are searching for. But they provide this for free because they want people to use it. Now, I'm not going to talk about AdWords because you can actually use the keyword tool, find out what people are searching for free, and use it in your content. There's nothing wrong about it. It's there to be used. It's there to be taken advantage of. So if you actually Google AdWords keyword tool, you will find the right link. And the point here is to kind of like, first of all, get in place of your audience, get into your audience's position and think, okay, what would my audience be searching for if they wanted to find a certain piece of content or a certain topic? And you can literally put that in. You can also put in a website, search through, say, a partner organization or somebody who you think are doing a really good job, find out what keywords they're using to reach these people. And finally, you can go through categories. So you can look at categories of information, so non-profit, public sector, retail, those kinds of things, and find out what are the popular keywords for that. Okay, so I'm going to zoom in on this a little bit because the picture hasn't come out as nicely as I'd like. And this is something that I've already done for this, and I used the word or phrase barrow and barrow in furnace. So this is where you type in that word or phrase. You can put in, I think up to 5 at the same time. So you can put in more than one phrase. And what you will get is you'll get a breakdown like this. The first bit, you'll actually see specifically for those words or phrases, so barrow and barrow in furnace. You'll see competition, global monthly searches, and local monthly searches. Ignore the approximate CPC, that's cost per click. That's for AdWords. You don't need to use AdWords for this. And if you are using AdWords, I would advise you get in touch with a Google AdWords professional because they can help you a great deal. So, okay, this looks really impressive and there's loads of numbers on there, but what does it mean? Okay, so in terms of competition, this is how competitive that keyword is. So, how many other people are you trying to use this keyword to get some traffic? The ideal would be to get a low competition keyword because you don't want to necessarily fight over it. It doesn't always happen though. The next thing that you want to look at is local monthly searches. Local means UK in this case, as opposed to global, which means the world. And what you need to do is look at what is competitive in terms of low, but what has the most searches. So on this, for example, I'll pick one that I can actually read. Where is Barrow? That's low, but you get 450,000 searches for this every single month in the UK. Now, you can apply this to your own keywords. So say, for example, you wanted to, I don't know, make people aware of proxy sales of alcohol to young children. I don't know why that came out of my mind. You can literally type in proxy sales of alcohol to young children and find out how competitive that word is, how many searches for that word is. But you can also, just by putting that word in, Google will provide you with relevant searches. So perhaps people don't search for proxy sales of alcohol to young people. Perhaps people search for getting adults to buy alcohol. That will pop up with, again, the same information that you can use to basically shape your content. What do you call this content? Okay. Now, in terms of the website, you simply put the website in, and it's the same process again. You're looking for low competition keywords with a high local monthly search. And you can see I've typed in barrowboroughcouncil.gov.uk, and the top one is land and registry. So I don't know if Barrow Borough Council is kind of like creating enough content for their land and registry, but people are searching for it and people are looking for it on the council website. So you can look at your own website and see, okay, what have I got here right now? What does it look like? Set a benchmark. Are some of those keywords that I actually want? Or perhaps, you know, if people are looking just simply for contact details for you, perhaps that shouldn't necessarily be a priority. Perhaps you need to kind of like look at the content that you can deliver and use this tool to find actually what people are searching for and how often and how much. Okay, so once you've got these keywords, what can you do with them? Oh, I could list endless things you can use with keywords, but practically, when creating content, you want the keywords in your content title, because if somebody's typing it in, you want the first thing they see on a search engine to be something relevant to what they've just searched for. Google works in the same kind of way. If you have the content keyword in the title, it's more likely to appear high in the search engine for those searches. You don't necessarily want to write an essay in terms of your kind of like content or kind of like do an epic film, unless you've got ideas of becoming next Steven Spielberg or something like that. You want to break down that content in headings, and that's another place where you can put your keywords in, because again, Google will search and look at this, and so will people. People don't read content, people skim it. Think about what you do when you kind of like look at something online. You don't actually read it unless possibly somebody's referred it to you or you're really interested in the subject matter. You will skim it and find the bits that are relevant for you, which are the keywords. Their guideposts, their navigation signposts saying, okay, you need to read this. Try and put it in the first paragraph, because when people skim, they'll read the first line and go, okay, that's really not for me. Google does the same thing. Google looks at it as a person. So if the keyword isn't in the first paragraph, you're less likely to appear in searches and you're less likely to engage people. Now, in terms of photographs, Google has not yet managed to kind of like find a way of actually looking at photographs through keywords. But when you're loading a picture up, you will be provided with something called alternate text. So this is basically where the title of the picture doesn't really have your keywords in, but you'd really like to have a keyword in there. You can literally put your keyword in the alt text, and that changes all the time, and that can change all the time. Now, it would seem like it would be a good idea when you're actually writing this content or creating this content to really stuff your keywords in there, because surely more is better. Well, Google's actually quite smart because it recognizes when people do this. So you don't necessarily want to really stuff this content with keywords, because first of all, people who read it, it will make no sense to, because if you can imagine if every other word is kind of like, say, land and registry, it's going to be, you won't be able to read it. It won't be very good content. And similarly, Google will recognize it for what it is, which is basically just trying to grab traffic. So a good measure is to think about approximately 1% of your content needs to be keywords. So if you think about what I said with blog posts, ideally 300 to 1,000, between 3 and 10 times. It's quite quite a good way of thinking about it.